Right. So my name is Tymofii. That is, it's spelled like that, and it's Ukrainian spelling for the name Timothy. You know, that is very well known to you guys. I've been living in UK since 2015, and I'm already a British citizen since 2023. Happily married, father of two. Those are my kids at the bottom. I have a master's degree in computer science. My university is National Technical University of Ukraine. It's one of the biggest, it's probably the biggest technical university in Ukraine. I worked in corporate IT for 20 years, primarily in legal sector. And my former place of work was DLA Piper, top 5 law firms, if you are not aware of this company. I have a former colleague here, Igor, who worked with me in that place and left just before me, just a couple of months before me. Historically, I was a network professional. I had many different certifications in that space, you know, from Cisco, from Zscaler, from Silver Peak. They're now all expired because I no longer work in networks, right? So I currently work as a cloud platform owner at the University of Leeds, and my hobbies are hiking, skiing, traveling, and the gym, right? So I'm going to start with this quote, and the book there, it's my favorite book. So if there is anyone who didn't read it, right, that would be my first recommendation to you. Read this book. I forced my team to read it. Everyone now read it, you know, even people who were in opposition. I think there is only one guy who hasn't finished it yet, but we'll get there. So the quote there, the one you see, improving daily work is even more important than doing daily work, right? This is pretty much a summary of this presentation in one sentence, because I believe that, you know, platform teams, doesn't matter if it's a cloud platform or any other platform team, the goal of this team is to make sure that whatever work you do, it's, you know, every single day you try to improve that and reduce the reactive work in your queue. So basically, if you're not reducing the reactive work, firefighting, you're doing something wrong. So before joining University of Leeds, I worked in a Cloud Center of Excellence for 2 years in DLA Piper. And I already had, by the time I decided to join university, I already had a clear picture what is a good look like when it comes to the cloud. And when I joined, I knew that I'm, you know, joining a less mature environment than what used to be the corporate sector. But I still expected some, you know, more or less structured enablement after talking to my managers-to-be. However, when I came into the company, in the first few months, I realized that I'm having a deja vu from the book because everything was different from my expectations. Reality was basically a little bit grim to me. So the shock was that the culture in the university, and it's, you know, we are working towards fixing that. We are still not there, but I think in 12 months we started demonstrating good results. But what shocked me is that it was very much admin-centric mindset. So people were very siloed, you know, teams were very segmented. They were like, we're doing only this thing, and you're not allowed to do these things because it's our baby. You cannot touch it. So there was like lack of platform ownership, understanding of the fundamentals of that or concepts. Even my team, cloud platform team, they were doing pretty much everything. If it's a cloud, it's them. Design, deployment, implementations, operations, all of it. Yeah, you name it. And we also had a non-stop, ever-growing demand, right? So I was like, when I joined my team, I said, look, guys, you're doing this, I don't want you, you're a platform team, I don't want you to do, all these support tickets coming our way. But their argument was, yeah, but we have no way to stop it. We have no way to stop this war coming to us. So I took this as a challenge, and it was quite a complex challenge, to say the least, because I kind of built a wall around them. And I think many teams in the university initially didn't like me, because I started telling no to them, and I started telling, guys, it's not their responsibility. My team shouldn't be doing that. I mean, even going back to, to the fact that some people in my team were still doing the job that they were doing before the restructure, right? So you can imagine that the capacity was pretty much not there. Yes, I had a team, but they were doing stuff that, wasn't moving the platform forward. But basically, the summary of that, we were the blocker. So, we were receiving lots of requests. We had to say no to them. And people were looking at us like, okay, you're saying no, but you're not offering an alternative, right? We want to deploy to the cloud, but what's the alternative? So, that was, a moment of clarity for me. If we continued this way, right, we would become just a very expensive support function. So we needed boundaries if we wanted to scale without being the dependency, right? So if we don't have boundaries, if we continue to operate like we used to operate, then we pretty much are a dependency. People come to us, we stop them, they cannot progress. Who to blame? Cloud platform team. Without ownership, we couldn't scale as well, because without defining clear ownership, it would turn into a chaos, because we had projects deploying products on a cloud, and then every single time they tried to define RACI, and half of that RACI was with us somehow, which we didn't like, of course. And this is where I started working with my team on foundations. Right, so I think every single platform team, not just platform team, I would say every team in IT, but specifically platform teams, they need to start with a vision, because vision gives a team a clear direction and clear boundaries. When I joined my team, the first thing they told me is that we need a vision and we need a direction. And we can do stuff, but we need to understand where we're moving, in which direction we're going. So that is the vision, you see at the bottom. That's my team's vision, to empower and enable our customers to build and operate secure, efficient, scalable, and cost-effective solutions by delivering robust platform capabilities that foster collaboration and shared accountability across the organization. That vision, I think I put it forward in the first couple months when I joined. And I remember when I presented it to the team initially, I saw, like, not everyone, I think it will be fair to say not everyone actually understood what I'm talking about. Like, what is this vision? Why? We had a session 2 weeks ago, 2, 3, can't remember. I read it to them the first thing, and I asked, does it make more sense to you now? And everyone in the room said, yes, it's clearer now what we're trying to do. So basically that's why I'm saying here that my team's vision is aged well in the last 12 months, because they now understand what are we doing, why are we doing it, and what is our product, if you like. Prepare yourself to repeat it constantly. People don't take it, if you only say it once to them. Even in my team, I had to repeat it every few weeks, every few months. And then I had to go outside and tell it to execs and the senior leadership team again and again and again until it clicks. The next thing is as important as a vision, in my opinion, is principles, team principles, right? Like you probably heard about enterprise architecture principles or architecture principles in general, right? It's no different. It's the things that you think are important from a platform perspective, and you cannot, you cannot ignore them. Or basically, it means that if any decisions you make, they go against these principles, they're wrong decisions. Okay, so you also need to define, my recommendation would be for you to have about 10 principles. I think we have 11, but we need to review them because some of them are, after 12 months, I can see that some of the principles are clearly important and influence our work, while the others are more or less irrelevant to the team. So we're probably going to drop a couple at some point. You also need to make sure that you have 1 or 3 anchor principles. It's basically the most important thing for you from your team that is aligned with the vision. So the most important or key principle is shared responsibility. So that is the principle we use everywhere, absolutely everywhere. That is the key principle which is used in every single message I give to execs, to our customers, to, it's a foundational principle to us. Yeah, I already said that decisions made against principles are red flags, or they can mean that these principles that you violated has flaws and you need to review it. Also a recommendation that as a platform team you should start recording your decisions somewhere. I mean, we use ADR. For those who are not aware, ADR is the canon name for it is Architecture Decision Record. We use a slightly modified, which we say any decision record. So any significant decision, we use ADR format to record them. So this is the next thing we did. And I think this is the most important thing we did in the last 12 months. This is where not service desk becomes enforceable. Without terms and conditions, expectations always drift, right? And with terms and conditions, accountability is explicit. This document changed our life dramatically as a platform team. We created, I think we finalized it somewhere, maybe 4, 5, up to 6 months ago. So when we originally created this document, and the reason we created this document is because as you remember, I said teams were approaching us and saying, I want this, I want this, I want this. And we didn't have capacity even to meet the demand. So the amount of projects or just small products that people in the university want to host on a cloud platform is huge, is crazy. I mean, the research alone approaches us with some crazy stuff. We want this, we want this, we want this. We just don't have time to, help every single one of them. So we said, right, we need some different approach, to start supporting these people, supporting these teams. And that's why we started with terms and conditions. So what we did is we covered, it's not all of the sections we have there, but it's a minimum table of contents I recommend, is the purpose where you say, why do you need these terms and conditions? Is principles, not all of them, we only have like 4 key, those anchor principles. We just list them, these are our principles, and every single customer of ours must adhere to them. You also list scope, out of scope, basically where it is. For example, in our case, out of scope is sandbox environments, because we have a separate terms and conditions for sandbox environments, so they are accepted separately. Infrastructure as code expectations, this is where we say we use Terraform. We use Terraform Cloud for the deployment as our CI/CD tool. And you have to, right? If you're going to be using our platform, you must adhere to these standards. We also say that incident response is primarily responsibility of the customer, not us. So if you want to host anything in cloud platform, you own that, and if there is an incident, you are the first person or the team to be dealing with that, right? And only after you prove this is a platform-wide issue, you come to us, you escalate it to us. Platform evolution is an interesting one. It's basically where we say, look, platform is ever evolving thing. It's going to change. or once we mature more, we'll change something. If you're using our standard modules, standard repository structure, we'll try to change it on your behalf because we know the format, we know what we need to change, how we need to migrate it. If you deviate from these standards, it's your responsibility to then align it because it may break. ClickOps policy, we call out specifically that you can use ClickOps in non-production environments, any test dev sandbox. This is where you use ClickOps, and then we say it's not allowed to use that in production environments. Non-compliance, it's a small section where we say if you're non-compliant, it will be escalated to senior leadership team, or even your access can be limited to the platform from a user access rather than a service principal. What we did as well is when we had a draft of this document, we presented it to CTO, and he said, looks great, let's take it through Gartner. So we had a session with Gartner, and after Gartner reviewed the document, they gave us thumb up and they said, this is exactly what we expect from platform teams. And after that, our position was reinforced with the senior leadership team. They basically said, whatever you do, do that. So the next thing is that you cannot enforce culture alone, right? Remember what I said, the culture in university, it's still not ideal. There is a lot of work we need to do, but the key point here is that, you cannot change anything alone. You need, even though I put it as a third bullet point, you need executive buy-in. I was lucky enough to have buy-in from CTO and as well as my line manager, who is the head of technology operations. And then through communicating with them and presenting the case, I managed to get the buy-in from head of architecture, head of projects, and head of CISO. So basically, the whole C-level in IT, they understand our vision, they know what we're doing, and they are on the same page now. Without this, in my opinion, it's impossible to deliver the change of that level, because people will be looking at you like, who are you? You're an alien. Why are you trying? Especially in the organization like universities, they're very, there is a culture that is very, very hard to change or influence if you don't have that support. So working groups, in my opinion, these are your decision drivers. This is where you can consolidate, champions and people who are working, using same principles or the same culture, and you can use them as a decision-driving force, right? So we don't, for example, come up with some policies in isolation in a cloud platform team. We go to these working groups and we can propose a policy, or anyone in that group can come and say, like architecture function recently, they said, oh, we want to, restrict certain SKUs from being deployed in certain, in a non-production environment, or we want to restrict regions so you can't deploy outside of UK. It's not coming from us, it's coming from our stakeholders, and it's coming through these working groups, right? And this is where we basically use ADRs as a decision record mechanism. Steering committees is very important. We use them as escalation forums. You don't need many. We have two. So at the bottom you can see we have FinOps steering committee and cloud steering committee. I think my personal view is that these can be combined. You don't need many because these people, C-level people, they don't have time to meet, to attend many meetings. But it was actually their decision to have two separate sessions because of head of IT finance, for example. She doesn't have to attend the cloud steering committee, which she takes place once a month, while FinOps steering committee takes place once a quarter. So these groups are being used for a direction. So for example, in FinOps steering committee, we bring decisions like what is our goal for the next 3 months? What do you want us to pay attention to? Is it reservations? Is it, where we can save more money in the cloud? And in 3 months' time, we bring the results back to them, and they make a decision what will be our next goal. Sometimes we bring certain decisions where we are blocked or we can't make a decision because it's beyond our pay grade from a FinOps working group. So we escalate it all the way to the FinOps steering committee when they unblock us. And the other, for the working groups, the two most obvious first choices are cloud security working group because it's easy, right? So you have clear stakeholders, they are cybersecurity. You have every single other cloud, not necessarily cloud platform team, you have every other platform team and architecture. So it's very easy to convince these people why you need this particular working group, right? And you will always have input, I can guarantee you that. Right, so what we did next is, in our terms and conditions, we have a definition of a customer, right? Who is our customer? It's quite vague. It just says anyone who wants to deploy on cloud platform is our customer. But then when we look at it, it's like, okay, we have all these people, right? Teaching, academic, students, postgrads, research. I'm not even going into that space. It's crazy. We have support functions, HR, finance, marketing. We have internal IT teams. You name it, and probably missed something. I don't know. Steve? Probably missed something, I don't know. But it's quite chaotic, right, compared to corporate sector. In corporate sector, I knew that, okay, in legal, we have lawyers and everyone else, like support functions, HR, finance, marketing, right? Here, it is, I'm 13 months in, and I'm still learning. So, out of these, right, we looked at it like, but who are we onboarding every one of them, or maybe not quite? So students, for example, they're not our customers. Postgrads not necessarily our customers. So we started early this year. We started like an exercise where we onboard. So anyone approaching us now, we basically say, right, terms and conditions. Go read them, and if you're happy, and if you're ready to accept them, we'll have a session with you where we will begin onboarding of you after you accept it. And during these sessions, we started exploring what do you need, what do you want, how do you want, and while we doing this, we try to understand what profile or persona you applied or match to, right? Because we have different customers, but we managed to then come up with a understanding. We have only two personas, right? We have, which, to my surprise or not, it's a platform team or a product team. Yeah, a product team sometimes can be one person. Like in research, for example, we have one use case right now where a person from School of Chemistry approached us and said, I want to build this Python application that uses the data from mass spectrometer, and I want to host an Azure function in Azure to be able to use a host API on it so that my mass spectrometer sends data through it to MongoDB, a free tier in the cloud. We were like, okay. Previously, before terms and conditions, we would just say no to him, because it wasn't unclear who supports him. He can build it, right? But then we become escalation point, or for every single problem, we become a bottleneck for him. So we shared TNC with him out of curiosity, because we didn't expect him to be able to accept it. But what we actually state in terms and conditions as well is that we don't really care who will support you as long as you have this contract. So it can be third party, You can arrange a third-party support, and we already have a use case like that, where a business function signs our terms and conditions, accepts our terms and conditions, but is supported by a third party on their behalf. So we thought it's going to be something similar. But that fella read our terms and conditions, came back to us and says, I spoke to the head of school and we are happy to accept that, and now I will be doing Terraform. And we were like, you what? And he's like, yeah, I'll learn it over Christmas time. Okay. So I was shocked, to be honest with you, because my expectation was that we will have some pushback from people like that. To my surprise, no. They are. So this guy specifically, yes, it's. I understand that not everyone is like him. He is a little bit more technically, tech savvy. But what this interaction helped is that he told us, look, I just want to know what I need to do, in which order I need to do, and how I can do that. That's all I'm asking. If you can give me that information, I will happily follow all your instructions and standards and everything, and I will deploy the way you want it. He's now working on a DA paper, right? So he's preparing himself to present it to a design authority. So yeah, you may think that people will not, accept terms and conditions. No, they're prepared. They're prepared to. They just need to understand what they need to do. So as I said, we ended up with these two personas. What is important here is that both these personas have the same responsibilities. They have to accept the same terms and conditions, and they need to follow exactly the same rules out of there. The only difference is that, as I said, they can either do it themselves or hire a third party, or even have an internal IT contract if this can be arranged. But our main goal is that to avoid this, never-ending, never-stopping operational overhead that lands on IT shoulders. So, as you can see here, it's a small diagram I made. This is our vision. This is how we prefer to operate. The dashed line there, showing the interaction between core cloud platform team to the product team. This is our least preferred approach. This is exactly the use case I just described. But we understand that in an immature university environment, this is unavoidable at this stage. But our preference is working through domain platform teams. So we have a number of platform teams, that manage web hosting platform offering, or, for example, integration services. They have their own landing zone, and they have full control there. And basically, they utilize our services or tooling standards, policies. They adhere to them, but at the same time, they enable a slightly different customer base at scale, because their platform is more patternized, if you like. It's a specific pattern that they deliver at scale. So what we trying to do now with the customers onboarding is that we try to treat it as a product, as our product. So it's our objective for this year, for 2026. We want to have an automated provision. So when our customers come to us and we identify them, put them into one of these two personas, we basically can then say, click a button, or to ask them, go to ServiceNow, request it here, and then through automated orchestration, we want to provision them as in all the tools we use, all the platform access, so they will get access in a uniform way, identically. Doesn't matter who they are. If you're persona A, if you're a product customer, you get more restricted access. You get access to a resource group. If you're a domain platform team, you get access to a landing zone, right? So that's pretty much a difference. So we currently use ServiceNow and ADO. I mean, that's not the key piece of information from this slide, but I thought it's important to highlight. But what I wanted to say here is that we use ServiceNow for reactive work, like incidents or standard requests. But we started using ADO as a for the work that improves our platform. Basically, my team works in sprints. it's not full Scrum that we apply. We took what works for us. My team loves retros. But yeah, we work in sprints. It's been good so far. There was a lot of good feedback on that. But what's key here is that our long-term objective is to reduce reactive work and shift capacity toward proactive improvements, right? So we have lots of tickets that keep coming to our queue, like firewall changes in the cloud, right? So can you apply this rule or that rule? And sometimes we have like 10 in a day. That, in my opinion, is anti-pattern. First of all, it's anti-pattern, right? It's handoff. We have domain platform teams that are 100% capable of doing that. But the reason we can't give them these permissions to them yet is because we don't have this governance wrap around it, so that these changes are actually checked by cyber or a network team before and approved before these people can implement them. At the moment, it's like this. Not ideal, but yeah. We're trying to improve that, right? So the last point there, enabling teams through a platform that is simple, secure, cost-effective, and aligned with their needs. Basically, we want to make sure that at least the main platform teams don't generate work for us. They need to be self-sufficient within their own area of responsibility, including things like firewall changes that are central in a subscription that we manage. So the next point is, and it's something coming from even when I was a network architect, right? I think I have a strong belief that complexity is the enemy of ownership. You cannot have a complex system that you can delegate to anyone, because the more complex system is, the less people will understand it, and good luck with delegating it, right? Good luck automating it, good luck troubleshooting it. And that's exactly where we are today in the uni. We have 3 firewalls in Azure, right? 2 of them Azure, 1 of them is Cisco and VA. We have hundreds of routing tables, and to make it worse, we have 10 plus routing patterns, depending on where. So historic, I'll give you a bit of history. There was a migration, not even a project, BAU activity from 2 Azure firewalls to 1 Cisco and VA, because we believed, it was before my time, but let's say we as a team believed that Cisco and VA is going to solve all our problems because it's more sophisticated firewall. Yes, it is, but the problem there was, and it still is, we have a public IP address range at the uni, right? I think it's pretty much any university. So we have Class B network, and everyone on campus uses public IP address, right? So we have asymmetric routing problem between Azure, where we use a private IP address range, and campus, where we use a public IP address range, right? The solution to this was trivial and very basic and simple. We just applied NAT. I mean, the solution that we propose now, we just applied NAT. So anything going to Azure application gateways, yeah, now NATed from that public range to a different public range. So now, we treat university public range as a private range effectively. So we solved the public range problem. There were few more other things, but the key problem here was that this wasn't a project, this was a BAU. And as you can imagine, there was no clear deadline, no clear, and delivered no service transition, no nothing. We ended up with 3 firewalls. Today we are using 3 firewalls. We have a project which is ongoing. My team is working very hard. Our target state is 1 firewall, 1 Azure firewall. We also have like 3 VNets because we have firewalls into different VNets and different subscriptions. We have like full mesh hub with 3 VNets, and then we have spokes connected to every single of those VNets, and we also have inter-spoke VNet peering. So with my engineer, network technology architect hat, when I saw this, and my network guru tried to explain me how this works, I was like, what the hell? Honestly, I still don't understand. But we're moving. It's now approved by the EA. We're making it simple because because I think this enables us to delegate stuff, right? So I actually just mentioned this. So the key goal is, as you can see, we will be able to implement governed firewall policy delegation. So what we are looking to do is we are working on some automation logic which uses Azure Function Apps for orchestration, but that will use like a manifest file in every single ADO repository. People can describe their policy and intent of their policy in YAML file, and our Terraform Cloud will grab that, send it to Azure Function, which will compile that, and then if it changed, it will require an approval and pull request from cyber team. So basically, you can author the whole policy for your project, for your workload, and only after approval from cyber, it will be compiled into Terraform and sent to committed to the to the project that manages firewall policy. But we can't do it today. With all the complexity, it's impossible. Like which firewall do I target, in which scenario do I let people decide? It's quite dangerous. So simplification is strategic in our case. Next thing is which is important in my opinion for platform ownership is you need to talk to your customers. I already mentioned that most people just want clarity. We had few sessions, in person with people, and feedback from my team and those teams was positive. Last week we had a session with Research IT, and it was fascinating to hear what they're doing. What university is doing in general in that space. I was listening to them like, how can we enable you? What are the quick wins? And I was surprised they didn't ask for much. Yeah, sorry, I have 5 minutes left. So they don't ask for much. They just said, give us a sandbox, and that will let us move in, at least with our testing. While I expected they will ask for a HPC or something similar, I don't know, or TRE. So we still, we still have this problem. It's across the uni. The ownership in general, people don't understand what it is, in my opinion, or try to avoid it. So we're fighting with that. I want people to understand that platform, it doesn't mean responsibility for everything. Platform is about enablement and letting you do things, but it means that people, teams who use platform, they need to have skills, right? And luckily, as I said, I have an executive buy-in. And for example, our CTO, I was surprised in one of the meetings, I think when we just presented terms and conditions, head of architecture started questioning me and like, but these people are also your customers. And I'm like, no, they're customers of my customer. They are not my direct customers. And he was struggling to understand this concept. And then he was like, yeah, but what if they don't skills? How do we enable them? And then CTO said, well, if they don't have skills, they need to adhere to your EA principles of buy before build. So if you don't have skills, why do you build in first place, right? You need to go and find if there is any SaaS offering that does what you're looking for. That was reassuring to hear. Right, so you'll be pleased to know that this is my last slide. It's just the key takeaways. What I believe is important for any platform team. You need a vision, you need principles, you definitely need terms and conditions. Like be a small Microsoft, right? They give you terms and conditions to sign when you sign for Azure services, right? Be something like that, but on a smaller scale, customized for your organization. Adhere to culture of working groups. Make sure you have customer definition, work towards platform simplification, make sure it's very simple. My rule of thumb is that if everyone in your team can explain how the platform works, you're in the right place. If you only have 1-2 guys who can explain how network works or policies work, then I think it's a problem, right? Work towards reduction of reactive work, right? Constantly improve. If you have certain stuff in service now, for example, if you use that platform of repetitive works like firewall requests, start thinking, how do we get rid of that, right? You don't want to be doing this. This is not interest. This is not fun. If you can delegate, delegate in a governed way, of course. I'm not proposing you to do chaos. Talk to your customers and be prepared for a long run, right? It took us 12 months to start seeing results and start, seeing a buy-in from most of the management and other cross teams. And I think the next 12 months will be quite promising, the way I see it, right? Do we have time for questions?